Peace to the family. We are here live, and I'm excited to connect with all you brothers and sisters. Yes, I'm live on several different media platforms simultaneously, so I really have that vibe.
And one thing only.
I really have that vibe where I'm talking to a whole audience, because I gotta look over here, look over there, look over here. Tonight we'll be talking about adverse possession. For those of you that are on YouTube right now, you can go and you can actually see the presentation I'll share. It's not that many pages, but it will be that detailed because of what I've shared. Okay, because I want to prepare people for the courses that we have on IamBrotherPolight.com. On IamBrotherPolight.com, you can purchase the Sovereign and Credit Repair Workshop. So today's course, or today's class, is a preemptive strike towards that course as far as getting ready for the study. Peace to the family in the Facebook community. Peace to the family on the Instagram Live community. Yes, I'm on YouTube right now, and I'm also on Facebook Live. I'm making sure I catch you all somewhere on your phone, somewhere on your desktop, somewhere on your computer. I'm taking this to the next level now. I'm going to catch you all where you at. Because sometimes it's just too much for you to transfer over. But if you want to see the presentation wherever you at right now, subscribe to my YouTube channel, I Am Brother Polight, and watch the video, and then you'll also get to see the pages that I'm going to share from the PowerPoint. Those of you that are on Facebook Live and it's just convenient, you stay there, and Instagram and so forth. But understand, today we'll be discussing adverse possession. All right? Adverse possession. And we'll also be discussing what? The spirit acquisition of foreclosures. Very, very important. The spirit acquisition of foreclosures. So, one of the first things that we want to get done today, before amongst many other things, is understanding the implications of debt. Okay? Understanding the implications of debt. That's what we want to do. Yeah, my wife, right, walked over here like, why he has so many screens on him? That's because when we do it big. So I'm on Facebook Live, I'm on YouTube, and I'm also on Instagram.
Seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. That's what we have to do. And so I just want to talk to the family about the meanings of these words, because the meanings of these words is going to take us into a new echelon of thought. So the first thing we're going to do tonight, as I'm letting the audience roll in, walk with me, I'll read out what I'm sharing. But again, if you want to see what I'm talking about, then subscribe to I Am Brother Polight YouTube channel. Those of you that's in Instagram and Facebook world, subscribe to I Am Brother Polight. And then what you'll be able to do from that point there forward is be able to watch the screen share option that I have. Otherwise, listen to me carefully when I start reading over the definitions of these words and these terms. And the reason being is because we have to put a great deal of things into perspective. And oftentimes when I teach this information, people say, hey, I think he's making up this information. I think he's making up the words. And so every now and then, I like to set them up. I like to make them think that they're right. Let them say what they say in the chat rooms and in their videos. And then I come back and I let them know, I knew you was wrong the whole time. I set you up because I knew what type of information I was dealing with. Like yesterday, I said that what you do on social media can affect your credit score. And of course, I got heckled. Come on, anyone that believes that is stupid. But I also said, please do the research. Now, when I show you the proof during the credit repair course is going to be alarming, the types of proof that I present. But I give you enough information where you can type these words in the search engine and you can go very far with what I share. Nonetheless, we're still dealing with a level of cognitive dissonance. So no matter how much proof you give to people, we still find ourselves in a space where people will not beseech more truth. So today we'll talk about adverse possession and the spirit acquisition of foreclosure. Because we have to understand that they're using economics to kill our spirit. They're compromising the integrity of our ability to grow wealth, to not only just demean us as adults, to demean us as a race, to demean us as people in general, but they're also doing this because, here it goes, they're trying to destroy us from the inside out. Because once you start dealing with the economic or the financial stress, you wind up being somebody very difficult to connect with day to day. It's just a fact. It's very hard to work with people who are overwhelmed financially. And so today, here's another installment on I Am Brother Polight YouTube to let you know you don't have to be subject to these types of constraints. You don't have to be subject to these stark circumstances. So I'm going to get ready to start this presentation, and I'll come in and out of the presentation, of course, but I want you all to just take some time to take note of some of these things. Here it goes. Let's get the first set of screen sharing going right now. Because it's going to get intense. And everybody take the time out to share this data with whomever. Be sure to share this data because the community desperately needs this information and they can't always pay for this information. So I'm working very hard to just heighten the awareness on the channel and give you as much quality information as possible. I know a lot of you really appreciated the credit repair class that I did yesterday, how to build your credit and get rid of debt by Brother Polight. And the beauty about it is that video, let me share the screen and show the people that's with me right now. Let me show you the power of the truth. Here goes the power of the truth. That video has done, see that? 398,000 views so far. 398,000 people have seen this post so far. How powerful is that? 398,000 people since last night have watched that video or seen posts. There's almost 400,000 people. Yeah, how many people inside the first 24 hours of that video on Facebook? I just hit the screen for the people that's on YouTube right now to see it. So that's what we're dealing right now. That's what we're dealing with right now, the power of the word. So when you say, how can I help you out, Brother Polight? How can I help? You can easily help just by sharing the video and getting the information out to the masses. That's like giving out pamphlets, but only thing you're doing it in the virtual world. So I thank you all for support. And of course, you want to go to IamBrotherPolight.com and click service or click new covenant, one of the two. And you can get the sovereign workshop that's going to start this Sunday. It's for this Sunday, the Sunday after, and the Sunday after that. For the next 3 Sundays, okay, we're going to be doing this workshop dealing with adverse possession, foreclosure, all right, and credit repair. It's a step-by-step process. We want everybody to take this into account. This is for everybody. Step-by-step process. Check out the video we did today. It's 400,000 views while you at it. So while I'm sharing this screen, the first thing that I want everyone to look at is the title, Adverse Possession and the Spirit Acquisition of Foreclosure. I know that this is a very weird title. I love weird titles that amount to something. So it's called Adverse Possession and the Spirit Acquisition of Foreclosure. Because I want to show you how spirituality and economics run concurrent. And they don't want you to know that, so they can keep hindering you in spirit in order that you may not be able to accomplish your goals in the material realm. It manifests in the spirit before it comes to materialization. So if you're sick, the sickness comes, it's initiated by something that we don't necessarily see. But definitely doesn't register to the human eye, but still can be cataloged or registered in this existence. No spooky stuff we hear talking about. Like the air. We don't see it, but we know it exists. And it can be measured. It can be weighed. Alright, so this is what we're talking about. With economics, the same thing exists. This is why in our culture, in New Covenant culture that is, we have what's called Kuina Akwunum, which is spiritual economics. Alright? And we know that we have to run spirituality concurrent, especially in a capitalistic construct, where it's such a competitive society for material gain. We can lose ourselves as far as character is concerned. So we want to work very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. So tonight we're talking about adverse possession. I am Brother Polight YouTube channel. All right, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can always get updates when we're about to get to work. And the first slide I present to you is on spirituality. I want you to look at this word because people say that you making this up. They say you make these words up, you make up these definitions. I love words. I've always loved words. I've learned so much when I really get into the nuances of these words. So, of course, there's a conventional term for spirituality, which is the state, quality, or fact of being spiritual. I hate those kind of definitions, using the word spiritual in spirituality. How did we really learn what the word means? Fine. Let's move forward. A religious belief or manner of pursuing a religious life. Getting warmer. 2, the clergy. What do you mean the clergy? 3, let's really get into this now. Listen to this definition for spirituality. Listen to the definition for spirituality. Often, spiritualities, something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to a cleric. Let's look at that. Often, spiritualities, something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to the cleric. Let me stop sharing my screen for a moment. Do y'all realize what just was said? Spiritualities. What are spiritualities? Spiritualities is something such as property or revenue generated, right, that belongs to the church or to the cleric. So what version of spirituality have they been teaching us? Let's think about it. What version of spirituality have they been teaching us? Because the one that we learned is we put the money in the basket. The one that they're learning is on the receiving end of the money in the basket, because it says oftentimes or often spiritualities is something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to a cleric. It says nothing about heaven. It says nothing about the devil. It says nothing about the root of all evil is money. It clearly stipulates, if you look up the word spirituality and then you go down and you look up spiritualities, it's something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to a cleric. How about that? So when I talk to you about acquiring property, when I talk to you about generating revenue, I'm having a spiritual conversation based on the context of that particular word. Based on the context of that word. So a person who has acquired a great deal of properties is not only going to be considered wealthy in more instances, but in fact, wealth to the point of being considered wealthy must be consistent with the themes of spirituality. Think about it. If spirituality is something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to the cleric, then the more revenue generated, the more spiritual the group or the person or the cleric. The more properties acquired, the more spiritual the group, the people, the cleric, or the church. You walking with me? So, my form of spirituality is not something that I merely conceptualize and is exclusive to me, but by virtue of the fact that the word spirituality means property, revenue, or let's go back. By virtue of the fact that the word spiritualities means something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to the cleric, that tells me that the more revenue made or generated and the more properties acquired is the more spiritual that entity, that person, that group, that church, that cleric is. So where do we get off with the poor shall inherit the world and all this other stuff? They are giving us the flip script. They're throwing what we say in the hood, reverse G. That's what they're doing. They gave us one brand of spirituality, so their brand of spirituality can be perpetuated day to day. And in their posterity, in their generations, their children to come, their offspring. You see, if so long as black people have a broke concept of spirituality, so long as they deal with poverty conscious, then their form of spirituality can always work for them. So long as we're on the consumer end of their spirituality, both parties can remain spiritual. We'll be spiritual in the form of being broken. They'll be spiritual in the form of generating revenue and acquiring much property. I hope everybody's understanding what I'm saying here. I don't make these things up. The definitions are right here. This is the first thing we have to deal with when we talk about adverse possession or the spiritual acquisition of foreclosure. Now we're going to go into the words. Let's go into the words again and see if these are all coincidences. Let's go into these words and see if these are all coincidences. So again, we're talking about adverse possession and the spirit acquisition of foreclosure. Now we're dealing with spirituality. And we learned that spiritualities is something such as property or revenue that belongs to the church or to the cleric. Very interesting point, because they don't teach that on the pulpit. That a big part of them being spiritual has a great deal to do with them generating revenue. And the more money they get, the more spiritual they get, I suppose. And the more churches they get, or the more buildings that they buy, because church is not but real estate, the more spiritual they get, I suppose. I hope y'all walking with me. I hope you walk with me. This is deep. So now, of course, I'm featuring the book, Trust Me. It's not asking you to trust me. It's telling you to protect your assets by setting up a trust. So the book is called Trust Me. You can get it from IamBrotherPolight.com. I want to explain the nature of the trust because it deals with the conception that we have about God as it relates to spirituality. This is a recurring theme. This is a recurring theme that I need you all to be in tune with. So, a trust is a person legally. A company is a person is a legal person is an entity. These are all synonyms for the same thing, a legal fiction. These terms all mean the same exact thing. Okay? I'm actually streaming live on Aminette's Instagram. And let's give her a round of applause and a lot of love because I'm doing this during our 19th year anniversary, March 9th. Today's our 19th year being with each other. And I'm here teaching the people. She let me do what I do. So I got to give her love and praise. And part of the anniversary gift to me is to allow me to stream on her network and share the things that she likes about me, which is me sharing information with you all. So that's why I'm streaming live from her Instagram right now. And I'm streaming live from my Facebook. And I'm streaming live from my YouTube. So peace to y'all that's supporting Aminette. Be sure to follow her. She's Aminetta Tumray on Instagram. She's at Amunet, A-M-U-N-E-T, Atum, A-T-U-M, Ray, R-E, on Instagram, so be sure to follow her. We almost 2 decades in, almost 20 years in. I'm 33 years old, and I can say that I've been with my wife since a young teenager. Love you too, family. So let's give her praise, man, for she letting me put it down and teach. So we go back here. Trust me. Okay, we're gonna go to this thing called Trust Me. That's the name of this book. Thanks a lot for showing the love and the happy anniversary. Congrats. March 9th, beautiful day for us. 19 years, still going strong. So what we gonna do? Black love for real. Hashtag the black love in the chat rooms. Let's get it in. The trust, settlor, trustee, and the beneficiary. What does this mean, family? What does this mean? Well, I'll tell you what this means. What this means is you have to look at the trust as a company. Look at it. I want you to look at the trust as a planet. So you see these factors here: the trust, settlor, trustee, and the beneficiary. Let's go back. I'm gonna go back to what you just saw. We're gonna speak to you. We're gonna keep this thing as organic as possible in the virtual realm. All of this is based on their concept of spirituality. So we have to understand the rules of engagement. The only way we're going to understand the rules of engagement is if we understand the state of mind of the people that created this system, so we can learn how to operate. But we have to make suitable proficiency in the preceding degrees. So we know now we have to make analogies, right, that correspond with their conceptions of spirituality. And a big thing that they are into is necromancy. That is to say, they're into death. They're into the celebration and worship of death, and not in any positive way. They're into being parasites of the people. Understand this, so you understand the nature of the beast that you're being confronted with. So when you set up a trust, the trust is designed so you can protect your assets. The way that you're going to understand how to protect your assets is in the analogy of the trust being a company representing the world. Who created the trust? The settlor created the trust. The settlor created the trust. Make sense so far? Should. So the settlor is the creator of the trust. The trustee is the one who follows the will and pleasure of the settlor, void of the presence of the settlor. So in this particular case, the trust is the world. The world was created by the settlor, which would be God in this particular analogy. And God then transmits his or her message to the trustee. The trustee now has to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the creator, which is the trust law, the trust provisions. And the purpose of the trustee in the business world is to see to it that the trust never accumulates negative asset value. The name of the game is to see to it that the trust never accumulates negative asset value. That's the name of the game. And so it's all about profit, or generating revenue and acquiring property. You understand? Sounds like spiritualities, right? So you want to get a trust so you can generate revenue and acquire property, as well as being able to protect that property and the revenue that becomes hard assets in the form of property. So we learned that spirituality is the revenue generated. We learned that spiritualities is the revenue generated and the property acquired by the church or the cleric. We know what spiritualities is. And now we learn that the trust can be likened to the world, or a world, and that world was created by the settler, who would be reminiscent to God in power and stature in retrospect to this world being created, was the trust. And the trustee is the one who received the transmission from God in the form of trust law provisions that would be likened to that of the laws, statutes, and commandments in the Bible. The reason why the trustor is considered to be like God, because the trustor or settler, same terms, the settler or the trustor, or even the grantor, these are all the same meanings. They're synonyms. The trustor or the settler of the trust only created the trust for the purposes of turning the power of decision over to trustee. Then the settler removes themselves out of the equation. So the settler or the trustor sole purpose and intention was to create the world, the rules corresponding, and then remove themselves out the equation. So again, the trustor creates the world called trust and creates the rules that will make this world work idealistically at its optimal level, and that communication is passed down to the trustee, until which time the settler never is seen again, or the trustor is never seen again. In the law, this removes the trustor from liability. Why? Because if we ever found this God-like figure, they would simply tell you, I only created this trust to turn the power over to the trustee. If we go to the trustee would say, I ain't created this trust. I never created this trust. However, I do have the right to make decisions based on that which has been laid out for me. So the creator isn't liable and the trustee isn't liable. Y'all get that? The creator isn't liable and the trustor, the prophet. So the trustee is now like the prophet. Because when the prophet comes into town and the prophet tells everybody, God just told me these messages. I just got these commandments. And people like me is skeptical, like, all right, you don't have to come up with goods. Tell me something deep. And some people say, man, because it's so deep, let's just believe God exists. Other people be skeptical. But the reality is this. The prophet is the only one that really spoke to God, or even said he saw God. And now he has to sell everyone on this idea. Yeah, I spoke to God, whether we like it or not. I'm not saying these things to bash religion. I'm saying these things so you can understand the trust. The trust is the world. The trustor or the settler is God. He or she created the rules and the regulations for the world and then passed down that edict or those mandates, those laws, statutes, and commandments in the form of trust law provisions over to the trustee, who now is the prophet, because the prophet now is the closest thing to God you're going to get to God. The prophet is one you're going to go to, so tell me more about God. The prophet is the one that's going to be able to break down the interpretations almost from God's perspective immediately, because that person is the closest entity to the creator. The creator channels information through that being in particular to relay the message to the rest. Who are the rest? Well, what happens? Our promise is to give you a world, and a good world at that. If you follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, you know what God will do? If you follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, God is saying, then you shall inherit the earth. God has beneficiaries for you. Wait, if the trust does what it's supposed to do, the beneficiaries will get inherited wealth. They will inherit the world. They will inherit the world called the trust. So trust have beneficiaries. Trust have beneficiaries. So the trust makeup and design is very religious in many respects. In this analogy, you can understand that the trust or the settler is God. The trustee is the prophet. The beneficiaries are the inhabitants that reap the benefits of the world if things are in order by way of the trustee who received the conveyance from the trustor or the settler for this world that we call the trust. And the whole reason for all of this is to generate revenue and acquire property. Those are the main reasons to get a trust. Generate revenue and acquire property. Spiritualities. So you see how it's all interwoven with each other. We're going to move forward now. Let's go back. Sharing is caring. Let's share the screen. So we see the trust, the settlor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. And of course, you can get the book Trust Me from IamBrotherPolight.com, or you can also get a trust from IamBrotherPolight.com. You can also purchase the company too. And an administrator or service man or woman will contact you, a caseworker. All right? And if you're interested in getting the trust, you contact us at Brother Polight 45@gmail.com. POLIGHT 45@gmail.com. POLIGHT 45. The number's 45@gmail.com. All right. So now we're going to go into the next slide.
You got my message?
The next slide. What's the next slide? The next slide is the spirit of acquisition. Watch this right here. This is going to be very important, family. I want y'all to stay in tune with this. Let's do this. Hold on. Let's do this. Walk with me, family. Walk with me. Take your time. Take your time. Okay. Hope y'all walking with me. Let's keep walking with me. There's more to go. Okay, so the spirit of acquisition. I want you to take a look at the words mortgage, hypothecate, foreclosure, summons to court, to make appearance, and trespass. Because we're going to talk about adverse possession. Possession. These words are very important. In adverse possession, it's about trespass. Walk with me, family. This is going to get intense. The spirit of acquisition. That's what this is about. So now we're saying the spirit of acquisition. What is a mortgage? Well, according to... Come on, what the heck is going on out there? Somebody really is playing themselves at this point. Hold on. Okay, let's do this. The spirit of acquisition. I'm going to go through the definitions of these words, and then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss these words. Mortgage. What is a mortgage? Conveyance. This is according to the online etymological dictionary. We'll find that the word mortgage stipulates conveyance of property as security for a loan or agreement. Mortgage, literally dead pledge. That's what mortgage is. It's a pledge until you die. We're going to go into that. But I want to show you that I don't make these things up. So when I'm speaking and I'm teaching on the fly and people say, Polight said that mortgage is a promise until you die. A promise to pay something until you die. Because a pledge is when you put up some money. It's an agreement that you're making. And this is something that we're talking about in terms of death. So the mort engage is death, like mortuary. Mort is death. Engage is a pledge or a promise. So what is a mortgage? Well, we contextualize properly. We understand that the mortgage that you're paying for represents payments that you probably will have until your death. You probably may go on probate. Yep, you probably go on probate. So let's move forward. Anyway, we see mortgage literally means dead pledge. Did I say that, or does the online etymological dictionary say so? Mortgage means dead pledge. Our people are victims of mortgage hypothecation. This is when they sell you properties under a conditional interest. What is mortgage hypothecation? when they sell you properties without letting you know that they intend to sell the note or your debt obligation to somebody else to make a profit. Unbeknown to you, people are making money off of your debt while you are paying for your debt. That's in short. There's a mortgage hypothecation. What does hypothecate mean? Well, that too is a pledge without giving up control. Pawn, mortgage from hypothecate, past participle, stem, of medieval, Latin, hypothecare, from Latin, late Latin, hypotheca, a pledge, from Greek, hypotheke, a deposit, pledge, mortgage, from hypo, beneath or under, to put, to place, to put, to set. So the mortgage is the death. You made an agreement that's going to cost you your life. You made an agreement that you'll be paying for the rest of your life. That's one. The hypothecation part is when they throw your ass in the ground and put the dirt on top of you. Okay? So we see hypothecate means what? Beneath or under. Okay? That's your 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And once you sign and they hypothecate, they've buried you. You're in the ground now. Okay? This is a death culture. Now we go into foreclosure. What does foreclosure mean? Past participle, foreclose, exclude, shut out, shun, drive away. And now we're dealing with spirits. So now they casting you out of your property because they killed you already. They made you sign the death contract. They buried you in debt. And once they buried you in debt, it's time to get you out of there and get somebody else in there. So they have to drive you away, shut you out. You are now a ghost. You are now a spirit. They're not even dealing with you as a person. And that's why they summons you to court. You summon spirits. And if you show up, you would have made an appearance. So now they're talking to you based on the transmitting utility. This is now UCC terminology we're dealing with here. They're dealing with the legal fiction. They're dealing with the corporate version of you. Because there is a private you. And then there is a public you, right? And then there is a corporate you. So this is the mind, spirit, and soul. They got the Trinity right there. There's you in private, you in public, and you in corporate. You could function in private, you could function in public, which you normally do. And then there's a functionality that they don't discuss with people where you are an actual business and they talking to the corporate you when they start these conditional interests or hypothecating mortgages, and they want to see if the corporate you can make someone come on its behalf, because the corporate you doesn't have a flesh and blood body. So they summons the spirit of the corporate you, and then you show up and you actually appear. Oh, okay, it's a physical person willing to oblige to the debt of the corporation that we created with the same name that we deposited into the SDK trust upon this person being birthed. Okay? That's what we're talking about now. Think about it. Think about it. And so we wind up with trespass. And adverse possession is about trespass. But trespass takes on such a negative connotation, you thinking, man, I only can get the property if I do something negative like trespassing. So we know trespassing is a transgression in some active manner to commit an aggressive offense. But here they got the word sin, because we're in the etymological dictionary. So now we see the word sin means to pass beyond or cross, or to cross or traverse. So it sounds like you on the other side, like now you're in heaven. Because to be in heaven, what is that? To be in heaven is to not have to spend the ridiculous amounts of money for a property that's overpriced in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whatever the case may be, them properties that you be buying has already been tripled in value by the time you look to purchase it. So the very opposite, this is the tricknology, this is the reverse G. If you don't have to pay for mortgage and you wind up acquiring the property, it's as though you traverse or you pass beyond or you've crossed over. This is the conception of heaven, but then they make it sin in their world. So we see these same words here. We see the same words here etymologically for trespass. And trespass is everything to the possession. That adverse possession. We're going to discuss what that adverse possession is in real estate, so don't worry about it. Let's get back to the people. I hope you all are walking with me. These subject matters are pretty intense, so I know you may have to review it because some of this is just new language. And you're probably trying to even understand the approach, but I'm telling you, we have to understand the consciousness of the people who create these laws so you know how to operate. If you understand we are operating based on their spiritual circumstances and their standards, then we understand what heaven is and we understand what hell is. We understand what God is to them. We understand what the prophet is to them. And then we know how to protect our assets. Then we know how to generate revenue. Then we know how to acquire property under the best circumstances, because now we properly contextualize everything that they've been throwing at us, because they use words that we may be familiar with, coupled with words that we definitely think we know, in addition to using words we've never heard before over 3 syllables. That combination of things drives us crazy. Okay? That combination of things drives us crazy. So now, let's continue to go. Again, you go to iambrotherpolight.com for this course in full, so we can show you how to conduct the adverse possession legally and properly, and also foreclosure relief to stop foreclosures. We're going to give you the information step by step. You're going to learn how to fill it out. This is intense. They don't teach you how to buy properties in school, so they definitely won't teach you how to save them. From pre-K to 12th grade was 14 years of school, and they never taught you how to buy property. They didn't give you credit classes and how to build it up. This is why we have to have these courses. These courses will be this Sunday, the following Sunday, and the Sunday thereafter. If you miss it, you'll get the passcode to watch the high-def version on our website. You'll be able to watch these classes for the duration of the courses for the 3 weeks to come. So don't worry if you missed it. Get your course. Watch it at your leisure. But if you watch it live, it's going to be great. If you watch it at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, it's going to be great, because what's going to happen ultimately is you're going to be able to call based on what you're hearing and sharing the experience. You're going to keep the PDFs. I'm going to send you the PDFs to the PowerPoints that I present for these classes at iambrotherpolight.com. You're going to get the PowerPoint, which is very important. You're going to get the PowerPoint for the course so you can follow with me step by step. Right now, I'm just going through the things that I'm not really including in the course, but this will give you much understanding. Because for the course, we have to give you the application of this knowledge. We have to make sure that you know how to execute on your own behalf, step by step by step, to repair your credit, conduct the adverse possession, purchasing property without mortgage, or even having to pay for it, okay? If the circumstances presents itself to you, okay? And then you also have what you call what? The foreclosure remedy. As many of us work long and hard to get the properties we got, and due to their analytics or the subprimes, they already knew that we wouldn't be able to afford the properties. They still sold it to us anyway, anticipating the default, because they'll make more money on the fact that they have a surety in place or insurance for the debt than waiting actually for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, the mortgage, the death pledge that you made. They make more money if, or providing that you don't pay the debt in real time, than to actually sit there and say we want the capital for the 30 years. No, it's not the case. So foreclosure is all about resurrection. Correct. Can you be resurrected? Because the mortgage is a death pledge, a pledge till you die. Why? Listen to this. Because the average person doesn't really start getting into buying homes until they're in their 30s. So let's say you're 33, 34, 35, and you get a fixed rate mortgage, 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You're 63, 64, or 65, retirement age. By the time you finish paying for your mortgage, presumably, and guess what happens? Well, what happens is you're almost at your lifetime expectancy. Our mortality rate is horrible these days. So you're pretty much going into an agreement to pay for something for almost the rest of your life. That's no way to live. how are you going to create instances in life where people will be paying a debt to you for almost the rest of their whole life? What is that? That's absurd. That's crazy. So mortgage is mort, death, engage, pledge, a promise to pay until you die. That's what a mortgage is. Now, hypothecation, okay, and we just dealing with the etymology here. Hypothecation is when they do what? Put you in the ground. How do we know this? It means beneath or under. So mortgage hypothecation means a death pledge that puts you beneath or under. If we just dealt with it on an etymological state or sense, mortgage means a death pledge that puts you underneath or beneath. This is a death wealth society that has its inception on debt. It's a death wealth society. Death wealth. Okay? So you're going to be paying this stuff until you die. And again, when they hypothecate the mortgage is when they sell you a property under conditional interest, whereby they didn't let you know they would be soliciting the sale of your debt to somebody else and probably placing it in packages in the form of hedge funds and maybe even selling them internationally where they can sell it for an innumerable amount of times in contrast to what they could do here nationally. Mortgage hypothecation is a death pledge that puts you beneath or under. And of course, the foreclosure is when they exclude you or shut you out or drive you away like a spirit because you're dead now. So they got to cast you away from this house. And how do they deal with spirits? Through the act of summons and making appearances. Because there's a corporate you, a company named after you from the time you was born, Department of Hygiene, transferred your name so it can, as a company, to be part of what is called a Sesticade Trust. And the Sesticade Trust establishes you as a corporation from the time that you're born. And so when they're summoning you, the state of California, the state of New York City summons you, they're actually talking to the corporate you. That's why they have to summons you, because the corporate you doesn't have a physical body, flesh and blood. They need someone to be the authorized signature. And this is why whenever you look on a contract, whenever you look on a check, you'll notice that the words on the check say authorized signature where you think you're signing on a line. The line that you think you're signing on, the line on any check, you pull out your checkbook, you put your bifocals to it, you get a magnifying lens to it, you zoom in on the camera to it, you'll notice that you're not signing on a line. You're signing on a bunch of words that say authorized signature because you're giving permission to act on behalf of the company that they created a 60K trust for in light of your birth because of a promissory note. And the promise is the amount of debt or revenue you would generate on behalf of the nation that is in debt itself. So they summons you to court in hopes that a flesh and blood physical body will come. They summons you to court in hopes that a flesh and blood physical body will show up. Okay, we back. Okay, let's get going. We back. And you know, we deal with an interesting race of people, like people that no matter how much facts put their way, like they get upset. Hey, Fearless Aura, I'm gonna touch base with you after class. Yeah, let's get in. Just checking in, family out here. Just checking in. Just checking in on the family. Yep. Yep, so this is a debt wealth society. This is a debt wealth society. And so they summons you to court as though you're a spirit and see if you show up. And then you make an appearance. So this is why we say we show up to court on special appearance. So we make a distinction amongst us and the corporate entity that they named after us. So we say we are making a special appearance. So when they say, do you understand the nature of these charges? I say, yes, I understand the nature of these charges, but not how they apply to me. And how do you plead? I don't make pleas nor plea bargains. I'm here on special appearance to challenge the court on the grounds they lack jurisdiction over organic living soul. Well, we're going to put a plea in for you. Objection in the grounds you lack jurisdiction over organic living soul make you violation of Article 3 of the supreme laws of the land. But the goal is to know you're there on special appearance. That's a whole nother class. That's going to be a fun course too. Learning how to defend yourself in court and things you should say, especially when you're going pro se. Okay? And so now we also deal with trespass, and we understand that by convention of thought, trespass is normally something that takes on a negative connotation that you're imposing on somebody's way or right to own their property or their land. In some way, you're hindering them. Think about it. Think about it. Walk with me. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide. See, these are those intense classes, man. I know people like drama and all of that. But I am Brother Polight. When it's done my way, we don't have a little drama here and there. We don't do that. We like a little drama too. We not nobody. But ultimately what we need to make sure is that the educational process is taking place, because our people, we're in a very compromising position as a community. So we have to make sure that this education comes to pass. Okay? So now we're going to go to the next slide here. Look at this. Adverse possession. This is when it gets intense. Well, there's a certain criteria for adverse possession. One of which being property must be used in conventional form, as in the case of the average owner under similar circumstance. Okay? Think about it. Adverse possession criteria. Property must be used in the conventional form, as in the case of the average owner under similar circumstance. So with an adverse possession, essentially, it's a form of trespass that is legal in America. This is why I'm telling you, this system is wacky. They understand that the rules of engagement to get the property, as taught inadvertently through the masses by going to the bank and letting the bank educate you on how to spend as much money as possible, by thinking you're saving, by purchasing a house or thinking you're investing. They also know they have a remedy, because he who creates the liability also has to create the remedy. So one of the remedies for this housing market is adverse possession. But we're not talking about finding people who live in homes and then trying to find a way to usurp their property right. We're not talking about that. We're talking about instances in time where people are ran out of their homes, towns are no longer being used, factories are not being used, buildings are not being used, houses are not being used because the bank kind of just turned their head from it. Your family member may pass away, and they may not have done the necessary things to keep the property from out of probate. And you may be trying to find out, how can I legally get this property into my name now that the person who owned this property is no longer here? See, there's different approaches. So this is a form of legal trespass, provided you meet the criteria, the objective and the subjective criteria of the government. I'm not using these terminologies by chance. Objective and subjective are very actual terms for adverse possession. So I'm just giving you ideas about adverse possession. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you to get rich scheme. Let's go around and look for some properties that no one's owning. I'm telling you, there's real life circumstances where you have the right, just like the government has the right to take advantage of people that work very hard to get their property and then take it away from their children, take it away from their wives, their husbands, their aunts, their nieces and nephews. You have the right to use the law to adversely possess the property. So I'm just giving you instances in time where it behooves you to do it this way. Okay? Let's make this work. Let's make this work. So I hope y'all keep this in mind. So when you deal with adverse possession, one of the things you definitely have to do, because I'm just opening up the conversation. Of course, when we do the course, it's going to be very, very intense. That's why I say you're going to need your pen and your pads. When we deal with adverse possession criteria, one of the main things you have to do is make sure that the property must be used in the conventional form, as in the case of an average owner under similar circumstance. You're also going to want to make sure you deal with exclusive right for constructive notice, notorious use for the cognizance of the actual owner. And then you also want to deal with maturation date of action of trespass, common law versus statutory law. Okay? Now, we're going to have to ask, what is the difference between statutory law and common law? Okay? Let's get this going. Let me get out of screen share. Okay. Is everybody back with us? Okay, so what have we learned from adverse possession? We learned that adverse possession is not something just to say, hey, I'm going to take somebody's property and do what I do and see if I can get off on some people. No, adverse possession is a form of trespass that is legal. He who creates the liability has to provide for the remedy. The liability is the housing market, just in general. Okay? And what happens is there are two approaches towards dealing with this adverse possession, or two things you're going to have to take into account per jurisdiction. One is the statutory laws, right? And then the other is made by way of common law. So, common law is based on previous court rulings, and statutory law is based on the legislator. So the legislator creates the statutory laws. Now, the reason why you need to know these things, or the reason why these things are very important, is because every state acts in its own capacity. So what that means is every state has their own statute of limitations. What is the statute of limitation? Well, we said in order to deal with adverse possession, you have to take into consideration the common law and statutory law. Now we've established the distinction amongst common law and statutory law. In short, in concise form, common law is when you use previous proceedings that have transpired in court as a point of reference, whereas statutory law is created by way of the legislator. And statutory law lets you know when there is an expiration date on a regulation. It's a statute. Why is this important? Well, we go back to the beginning. When it comes to adverse possession, it's property that must be used in conventional form, as in the case of the average owner of the civil service. If I have property that people was using to farm on, that means I too also have to farm on that land, just like people have farm on that. So when you're dealing with adverse possession, you have to deal with the property in the same manner that any other owner would have dealt with it. Okay, so we're gonna deal with this on a hypothetical level. Okay, and so I know I'm coming at time on social media where it'll start slowing down my stream on Instagram and also on Facebook. But bear with me, family, until it clears out. Instagram out, so we must have first hour. All right. So you got to deal with the property in the same instance that any other person would have dealt with the property. So if it's a single family household with a lawn out there, and you have to go out there and mow the lawn and pay the bills and deal with the upkeep of the property in similar fashion. Exclusive right for constructive notice is what? Because the thing that people do wrong when they try to deal, when they look to deal with adverse possession, they don't keep a thorough record of logging, nor do they submit the record of logging to the parties that need to see that you're dealing with the upkeep of the property regularly. So, exclusive right for constructive notice or notorious use for the cognizance of actual owner is to stipulate, you know what, if I didn't belong here, if the owner was interested in me moving out, that could be the banks. Most times it's the bank. If they was interested in me moving out, they would have, because I deal with the upkeep of these properties regularly, and I've been coming outside mowing the lawn. The neighbors see me here every day for the last year, because some places will say 1 year. Some places will say you have to be upkeeping this property for 5 years. Other places may say you have to upkeep this property for 10 years. Whatever the case may be, you dealt with that property under the same convention that other people would have dealt with the property had they been in it and not you. So that is for constructive notice for the cognizance of the actual owner. This is the notorious use of the property for the cognizance of the actual owner. All right? This is adverse possession. I know this thing may be like, man, this is a whole lot, but if you follow it step by step, it works out for you. But different jurisdictions have different statutory laws that correspond with the criteria for you to be able to conduct the adverse possession of property. So that's where the maturation date of action of trespass tells. That's the maturation date of action of trespass. We have to find out what's the common law and the statutory laws that are beholding to that land or that jurisdiction, so you know what you getting yourself in for. I have to have this class because our people are interested in these things. And because they're interested in these things, I don't want them to go astray and do things out of order. See, if you keep a thorough paper trail and have constructive notice for title, then you're doing things on the level. Now it doesn't look like you're trying to do the criminal trespass. We don't want you doing the criminal trespass. Okay? Again, this is to protect your family from probate actions. When you know it's a family home, but the person that owned the house wasn't educated enough. These are different alternative means that you can do or use, provided the upkeep, the proper upkeep, in the response to the criteria of the jurisdiction based on your constructive notice, amongst many other things. Okay? So we're going to go with one more slide. Let's go to one more slide. And here we have non-permissive clause under claim of title. What is a non-permissive clause under claim of title? Well, a non-permissive clause under claim of title. And then we also have here what? That which belongs to someone else. Trespass is defined by the act of knowing, entering another person's property without permission. Such actions fail to infringe upon a property owner's legal right to enjoy the benefits of ownership. Subjective disposition, good faith standard, or bad faith standard. Let's go back. What does all of that mean? We'll find out right now. Just tuning in with y'all. Had a blocking idiot in the chat room who wanted gangbang during a real estate class. How stupid can you be? I mean, I've met some stupid people in my life. But damn, it never ceased to amaze me how you can have a real estate class and somebody is over here, like they're totally oblivious to what we working on, talking to me about some banging. Let me stay focused, man. Damn. People. We have a way to go when it comes to our people. So now we're talking about the non-permissive clause under claim of title. Non-permissive clause under claim of title. What does that mean? By non-permissive, we mean that there's not an owner in questioning to the property that you are working in cahoots with, that probably is trying to get out of their obligation fiscally to the property, whereby they're trying to use you to conduct an adverse possession in a conspiracy. So nothing has to be paid. So the jurisdictions nationwide will suggest that you have a non-permissive clause under claim of title. That's what it means. A non-permissive clause. That's what that means. All right? And a subjective disposition may be something in addition to the non-permissive clause under claim of title. Okay, which is objective. Subjective dispositions are inclusive of good faith standards and bad faith standards. The good faith standard is, hey, I didn't know who the owner was or that somebody was still owning the property. And the bad faith standard is, I knew somebody that owned the property, but I'm still looking to conduct that adverse possession. Now, both of them don't necessarily have to be bad, but obviously the good faith standard suits you best because you're building a case here for the property. So these are the things that you're going to have to discuss. Again, there's a legal right to trespass. The terminologies that they use make you go, oh, no, I don't want to deal with that. It's trespassing. But they do that on purpose because if we don't understand the context to which is responsible for us understanding what a word means and how to actually use it during different scenarios, we're going to get lost the meaning of the word, and in turn, we're outside of a conversation we should be inside of. So their conversation is, look, Negro, spend your $200,000, $300,000 for a property and go into debt for 30 years from this point forward. Where this conversation says, hey, there's many properties that's off the market thanks to the compromise you created in the real estate market. Why should people go around looking to buy very expensive properties when there's that much more properties out here not being used, not being upkept, that we can conduct an adverse possession and bring it back up to date, bring it back up to par. Okay, so good faith standard is what we want to deal with, a good faith standard. But bad faith standard may not necessarily be bad because you may know who the property owners are of a factory of some sort and they just neglect it completely. They don't use it. They have no interest in it. And you adversely possess the property. They don't want to use it. You go in and you use it. Why should you go around looking for one that's built when there's one already there? The law was constructed in such a way that it's based on interpretation, not based on legitimacy. Okay? It's based on interpretation. Whoever has the best interpretation has the right to the execution that corresponds with the same. That's what this is all about. So when we're dealing with law, you have to understand their concept of spirituality, which is the revenue generated and the property acquired. The revenue generated and the property acquired. So this is your take, or this is our take on adverse possession and the spiritual acquisition of foreclosure. I appreciate the time that y'all spent with us. You know, I'm keeping these classes a little bit shorter, and that's primarily because I'll be having meetings like right after. In fact, I'm expecting somebody or some people right now, and this is good. I'm actually on time for the most part because they must be a little late. So this works out to my advantage. I got a little free time to myself and get something going. So you can go to IamBrotherPolight.com. Let's take the family there that's with us on YouTube. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel, I Am Brother Polight, and subscribe. And if you're already on the channel watching us, you know what to do. Just subscribe and let's make it work. Let's make it work. Spiritualities, yeah. So you can go to I Am Brother Polight. Okay, and you're going to click service. And you're going to go to Sovereign Workshop, Adverse Possession. And Credit Repair. And you'll get the class for Sunday, March 12th. Remember, if you do not get an opportunity to deal with the March 12th class on time for the live stream and to interact with us, still get the class. You'll get the HD version, and you'll be able to keep the version of each class for the duration of the course. The course is going to be a 3-week course every Sunday starting this Sunday. You can click services, or you could click the new comment link. All you got to do is go to IamBrotherPolight.com. POLIGHT. Go to IamBrotherPolight.com. Get your Sovereign Workshop and Credit Repair class. We start at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's the West Coast. And it will be 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the East Coast, of course. And we're going to go to work. We're going to deal with adverse possession. We're going to deal with credit repair. And we're going to deal with foreclosure relief. Let's make this happen. I thank you all for spending the time with us on I Am Brother Polight YouTube. And I thank you all for spending this time with us on Facebook.com/Brother Polight. If you haven't gone to our Facebook page, Brother Polight, come check out. Come check us out. We're going to make it work. Just like our page on Brother Polight. Facebook.com/Brother Polight. And then everyone be sure to follow us on Instagram. That's brother_POLIGHT.com. Oh, pardon me. Brother_POLIGHT. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at brother_Polight on Instagram. And let's make that work. So again, I thank you all for everything. IamBrotherPolight.com is where you go for the courses, for the books. Of course, the key books, the textbooks you're going to need for these upcoming courses are Real Estate or Legal Fiction, Stocks and Bonds, Inequity or Iniquity, definitely. You're going to need that for them UCC codes. Paper Terrorism for the templates. And then you'll also need Pennies Off of Millionaires, especially for the credit repair program. So you're going to want that book. We're going to be working out of that book for class. In addition to more information we'll be adding and contributing. So you want Pennies Off of Millionaires, Inequity or Iniquity, Stocks and Bonds, Real Estate or Legal Fiction, Sovereign was a given. You're going to want to get those particular textbooks for class for these weekends to come. Again, we thank you for everything. I am Brother Polight. Everybody here. yeah, family. So I gotta get ready to go to work and be part of this next meeting. But thank you all again too to the Facebook community. I appreciate you all. Peace.